Good morning, dear children. Welcome back to online classes. Today in civics, we are going to see in chapter number 4, that is working of institution, topic the judiciary. In the starting of the chapter, we have seen the office memorandum, the order in which announced a major policy decision, that is 27% reservation for socially and economically backward classes. It led to widespread protests. The dispute was settled by high courts and Supreme Court in India, arising out of governmental decision. But finally, Supreme Court verdict was accepted by everyone. So, imagine what would have happened in the following situation if there was nothing like a Supreme Court in the country. Even if there was a Supreme Court, if it had no power to judge actions of the government, even if it had the power, if no one trusted the Supreme Court to give a fair verdict, then even if it gave a fair judgment, if those who appealed against the government order did not accept the judgment. So this all is a imagination. Now, this is why an independent and powerful judiciary is considered essential for democracies. Judiciary, an institution empowered to administer justice and provide a mechanism for the resolution of legal disputes. All the courts in the country are collectively referred to as judiciary. So, all the courts at different levels in a country put together are called the judiciary. The Indian judiciary consists of a Supreme Court for the entire nation, high courts in the states, district courts, and the courts at local level. India has an integrated judiciary. It means the Supreme Court controls the judicial administration in the country. Its decisions are binding on all other courts of the country. It can take up any dispute between citizens of the country, between citizens and the government, between two or more state governments, and between governments at the union and state level. It is the highest court of appeal in civil and criminal cases. It can hear appeals against the decision of the high courts. So, here criminal and civil cases. So, criminal cases that deals with the conduct or act that law defines as offenses. For example, theft, harassing a woman to bring more dowry, murder, etc. comes under criminal laws. It usually begins with the lodging of an first information report with the police who investigate the crime, after which a case is filed in the court. If found guilty, the accused can be sent to jail and also fined. Then civil cases deals with any harm or injury to rights of individuals. For example, disputes relating to sale of land, purchase of goods, rent matters, divorce cases. A petition has to be filed before the relevant court by the affected party only. In a rent matter, either the landlord or tenant can file a case. The court gives the specific relief asked for. For instance, in a case between a landlord and a tenant, the court can order the flat to be vacated and pending rent to be paid. So, this is the difference between a criminal law and a civil law. Independence of the judiciary means that it is not under the control of the legislature or the executive. The judges do not act on the direction of the government or according to the wishes of the party in power. That is why all modern democracies have courts that are independent of the legislature and the executive. The judges do not act on the direction of the government or according to the wishes of the party in power. That is why all modern democracies have courts that are independent of legislature and executive. India has achieved this. The judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts are appointed by the President on advice of the Prime Minister and in consultation with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. In practice, it now means that the senior judges of the Supreme Court select the new judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts. So there is very little interference by the political executive here. The senior most judge of the Supreme Court is usually appointed the Chief Justice. Once a person is appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court, it is nearly impossible to remove him or her from that position. It is as difficult as removing the President of India. So a judge can be removed only by an impeachment motion passed separately by 2/3 members of the two houses of the Parliament. It has never happened in the history of Indian democracy. So here impeachment motion, impeach means to charge someone with doing something wrong, especially a high government officials like president or a federal judge. The judiciary in India also one of the most powerful in the world. The Supreme Court and the High Courts have the power to interpret the constitution of the country. They can declare invalid any law of the legislature or the actions of the executive. Whether at the union level or at a state level, if they find such a law or action is against the constitution, the legislature refers to our elected representatives and the executive is a smaller group of people who are responsible for implementing laws and running the government. And the constitution is the supreme law of a country containing fundamental rules governing the politics and society in a country. Thus, they can determine the constitutional validity of any legislation or actions of the executive in the country when it is challenged before them. This is known as judicial review. The Supreme Court of India has also ruled that the core or basic principles of the Constitution cannot be changed by the Parliament. So here we have spoke about the judicial review. So what is judicial review? You all have studied it in class 8 about the judicial review. So let me tell you about what is judicial review. Review means as the final interpreter of the constitution, the judiciary also has the power to strike down particular laws passed by the parliament if it believes that these are a violation of the basic structure of the constitution. So this is called judicial review. In the next paragraph, the powers and the independence of the Indian judiciary allow it to act as the guardian of the fundamental rights. We shall see it in the next chapter that the citizens have to have a right to approach the courts to seek remedy in case any violation of their rights. In recent years, the courts have given several judgments and directives to protect public interest and human rights. In recent years, the courts have given several judgments and directives to protect public interest and human rights. Anyone can approach the court if public interest is hurt by the actions of the government. This is called public interest litigation. The courts intervene to prevent the misuse of the government's power to make decisions. They check malpractices on the part of public officials. That is why the judiciary enjoys a high level of confidence among the people. Now, let us see about the PIL. While the courts are available for all, in reality, access to the courts has always been difficult for a vast majority of the poor in India because legal procedures involve a lot of money and paperwork as well as take up a lot of time. For a poor person who cannot read and whose family depends on a daily wage, the idea of going to court to get justice often seems remote. That means very difficult. In response to this only, the Supreme Court in the early 1980s devised a mechanism of this public interest litigation or PIL to increase access to justice. It allowed any individual or organization to file a PIL in the High Court or the Supreme Court on behalf of those whose rights were being violated. The legal procedure was greatly simplified, and even a letter or telegram addressed to the Supreme Court or the High Court could be treated as PIL. So children, this is the end of the chapter, and in the next class we will be seeing the new chapter. Thank you children.